Okay, today we're going to be looking at relative frequency, which is also known as experimental probability. So, let's have a look at it. So, here's a model I'm going to show you. So, I asked a bunch of pupils what your favourite subject is. Obviously, math comes out on top. But joking aside, to find the relative frequency, first we need to find the total of all our frequencies. So, 20, add 12, add 14, add 4. That comes out to a total of 50. I'm going to make that a bit smaller. So 50 people I spoke to. So to get the relative frequency, it's just finding how relative someone is to all the other things that are existing, because this is real life data. We spoke to people and we're seeing to find how relative that is to the whole total. So it's essentially just going to be, and I've got a key point here, for relative frequency of a value is the frequency of the value over the total frequency. And we can find this out as a percentage. So for maths, the relative frequency is just 20 over our total, 50. For English, it's going to be 12 over 50. Science will be 14 over 50. And all other subjects will be 4 over 50. Now, I've left a gap because what we tend to do is we tend to, with probability, round this, not round this, but we convert this to a decimal. So, here, mass is going to be 0.4. 20 over 50 is 0.4, or 40%. 12 over 50 would be 0.24. 14 over 50 would be 0.28. And 4 over 50 would be 0.8. And what you will notice with relative frequency, now sometimes these are nice numbers, but you could have a slight rounding error, but they should always add up to 1.0, which is always quite nice. Now, if anyone noticed, I made a little error. I've just noticed that in my calculation, 0.08 there. And when you add them up, it will always equal 1.0, because all frequencies, all outcomes have to add up to 100%, 1.0. And that's how we find frequency. So now I can say, how many people should I expect to like English from a group of 250 people? Well, we just got a total 250, multiplied it by our relative frequency for English, which is 0.24. So essentially, we're just finding out what is 24% of 250, and you get 60 people. So there we are. Okay. Here's a practice question. So the owner of a restaurant recorded the number of seats reserved for each booking in a week. Find the relative frequency of each booking. So you can pause it here and have a go, but I will do it now for you. So we add them all up. 30 plus 10 plus 25 plus 5 plus 10 is 80. So our relative frequency is going to be quite small here. 30 over 80, and that equals 3/8. 10 over 80, and that simplifies to 1/8. 25 over 80, and what does that simplify to? 5 over 16. 5 over 80, and that simplifies to 1/16. And last one, 10 over 80, and that's 1/8. And when we convert this to a decimal, we're going to get 0.375, 0.125, 0.3125, 0.0625, and the last one, 0.125. And when we add them all up, I'm just going to make sure I've done this correctly. Add them all up, and you're going to get, you should get a value of 1. Oh, lovely. Yes, perfect. Add them all up, and it equals 1.0. So that's how you know you've done it correctly. So here again, how many people would I expect to book 4 seats if I had let's say 300 bookings. Well, our relative frequency is telling us that we should have 31.25% of all bookings. So we will do 0.3125 times our 300 bookings next. So essentially, we're saying there's going to be 300 bookings next week. Multiply it and 3125, and we should expect. Well, we can't have 93.75 people, so we might just run that up because it's humans. 94, and there we are. That's how many bookings we expect of people to get a booking of 4 seats. So here's a few more examples to try. You can pause them here, but I'm going to show you them now. So, what kind of music do people like? 28 like pop music to 28. Maybe I change it to red, make it easier to see. 30 people like dance. Hip hop is 17, and something else is 16. So you add them all up, and you get your total 28 plus 30 plus 17 plus 16. That gives you a total of 91. So your relative frequency is just going to be 28 over 91, 30 over 91, 17 over 91, and 16 over 91. And that should all add up to 1 when you convert that to a decimal. But I'm not going to do that now. You can do that yourself. Okay, let's have a look at this one. There's 30 students in a class, did a survey of their favourite movie series, and we'll call it the results. Okay, so what's the relative frequency of High School Musical? Oh, classic. Ooh, there we are. High School Musical. Well, we'll find the total. So 10 plus 6 is 16, plus 2 is 18, plus 9 is 27, plus 3 is 30. Nice number. Relative frequency of High School Musical is going to be 9 over 30, and that's a decimal. That's going to equal 0.3. So relative frequency, there we are, B. A dice was thrown 60 times. The following result was the relative frequency of scoring 6. 6 is here, 12 in there. So it's done 60 times. We know the total is 60. We don't need to add them up. The probability or experimental probability of rolling a 6 is 12 over 60, and that becomes 1/5. So relative frequency there is just going to be, as a decimal, 0.2, and there we are. Answer C. So the idea is, if I was to, based on my experimental probability, if I was to roll the dice 540 times, well, it should just be 540 times 0.2, which is 20%, and that will give us a nice answer of 108. So that's the idea. We just get this experimental probability. It lets us sort of predict the future if we were to do it more times. Maybe this is the last one. Jane did a count of the number of times each file is recorded on a page of a book. Oh, God, a lot of free time. What is the relative frequency of the file A? So A is here. Ooh, A is here. Add them all up. I'm not going to do this mentally. 201, 107, 120, 46. Ah, nice. The total is 600. So the relative frequency of rolling an A is 126 over the total 600, and as a decimal, that is going to be 0.21 or 21%. So there we are. Great. So last but not least, I'll leave you on this question. The probability of not being connected when ringing a customer service is 30%. So I'll highlight there for you. So probability of not connected is 30%, which is 0.3. On a typical Monday, so let's say the probability of connected has to add up to 1 is 0.7. On a typical Monday, customers ring the service 40 times. How many of these calls would you expect to be connected? So our focus is here. Connected. We're expecting 75% of the call. We expect from our data 70% of all calls to be connected. So if we ring 400 times, 400 multiplied by 0.7, and you're going to get a final answer of, bear with me, 280. 280 calls connected, and there we are. That's how we can calculate relative frequency or experimental data. talking to struggle this morning. All right, I hope that helps.